Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, January 13. Welcome to the evening edition of the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Tonight, let's start off with our space weather conditions. Our solar wind speeds are coming in at 357.2 kilometers per second with a density of 0.7. Taking a look at our star, we are blank, 0 sunspots to report. That is now 2 days in a row without sunspots. 3 days in 2020 without sunspots so far this year. We had a late start, as you guys recall, several days with a very little sunspot. Nothing bigger than a sunspot 14, but mostly it was sunspot number 11. That was AR 2756 and AR 2755 that also decayed. All right, let's take a look at KP, sitting at a 1 right now with the 24-hour max of a 1, and our TCI is at 3.03. Cosmic ray is still at the 10.2 percentage. Now, the record is 10.7, which was set back in February of 2009. We are approaching pretty much the minimum part in April of 2020. And we could very well easily see the cosmic rays, that measurement could be broken by April at this rate, is what we're looking at right now. And expecting solar wind speeds to increase tomorrow and also on the 15th, that is Wednesday. And I will say this, that solar wind speeds have increased just a little bit as we went live tonight. It jumped up about 20 kilometers per second within a half hour. So we might be seeing the arrival of that solar wind that's expected tomorrow and Wednesday. All right, let's go over to thegrandsolarminimum.com and check out our space weather page. And let's look at, there's our KP indices over the last couple of days. As you can see, guys, it's been pretty quiet. We've also had a lot of seismic and volcanic action as well over the past several days. And it's reporting so far, we haven't had anything too big yet reporting in that department, but we will keep our eyes peeled as there are expected activity to continue at the Taal volcano in the Philippines. And here we are looking at our star with what could be on the horizon for future sunspots, and right now everything seems pretty quiet. We had a flurry of action to begin 2020 that seems to now fizzled out a little bit. And we are back to typical solar minimum conditions. And also want to point out, too, the lack of coronal holes that seem to be forming here in the near future as well, which, you know, we could use a little bit of seismic break anyway, so that's not really breaking my heart at this point. However, solar winds can become low, and with lower solar wind gives us a more erratic jet stream as well. So we'll talk about that here later as we get into the weather section of this particular broadcast. Let's go ahead and start in Egypt. Rare snow blanketed Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Snow fell on mountainous areas in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula on Friday, January 10th, 2020, in one of the area's rare winter snowfalls. A cold front passed through Egypt last week with temperatures in the Sinai Mountains plummeting to freezing, while near freezing conditions were felt in the mainlands. In a video captured by resident and tour operator Ragib Edid, the site is being seen blanketed in white. Snow in the area usually lasts for a day until temperatures go back up to normal average. However, snowfall continued through Saturday, January 11th. Check this out. There's more video and footage here at watchers.news. Always does a great job at collecting information. Again, we were showing a video from a gentleman who was filming in Turkey. Meanwhile, snowfall on St. Catherine City in South Sinai led an unexpected rise in tourist occupancy rates as hundreds of people flocked to the area to see the snow. According to the head of Municipality Council, Talat Anani, the snow brought area great excitement to the city and all roads are open. Obviously, the snowfall does not happen as often, and this looks like they got a couple inches. St. Catherine is located at an elevation of about 5,249 feet above sea level At the foot of the Sanaa High Mountains, a famous tourist attraction, the city features the oldest inhabited monastery in the world, revered by three Abrahamic faiths: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Go ahead, check out watchers.news for the video footage as well. And we're going to go ahead and stay in the Middle East here, as the nonstop heavy rain, which led to widespread flooding and destruction in the United Arab Emirates, broke the highest rainfall record since 1996, and that was at the beginning of a solar minimum. According to the National Center of Meteorology, on Sunday, January 12th, the highest amount of rain from January 9th to the 12th was 7.5 inches in Al-Shakla, Al-In. One fatality was also reported in Ras Al Khaimah. The eastern region of the UAE recorded the heaviest amount of rain between Thursday, January 9th and Sunday morning, particularly in Mazad with 6.78 inches, Damatha with 6.77, Al Fo with 6.17, Falah Al Mula at 5.98 inches. The last time the country saw such huge amounts of rain was 24 years ago, and this was in Khor Fakkan with 5.66 inches of rainfall. And I hope I didn't butcher Khor's name here, or the city, I should say. Some of the areas are badly hit with the storm were Sawahan and Al-Swab with 4.96 inches, Al-Arad with 4.86 inches, and Al-Rakna at 4.51 inches of rain. And this was within just a couple of days. Again, these totals would equal a normal area around here. That's about a month and a week's worth of rain in most spots here in the United States. These folks got this amount of rain in just 3 days. Various regions of the country have witnessed unusually heavy rains, which cause rainwater to accumulate in the main roads and cause diversions on some intersections. The Ministry of Infrastructure Development, in coordination with the local authorities, has deployed 20 teams to monitor the roads, the federal authority has declared. The teams have been assigned to deal with three main tasks, which include drainage of waterlogged roads, removing mud and heavy debris, as well as repairing roads that may have been damaged to the rain. And take a quick little look at how much water we actually had seen here, guys. I mean, this water is up to these folks' doors. And here's a little bit more footage here, folks, as well. Don't want to show too much of one video. All right, this is a well-orchestrated video. Go ahead and check that on your own time. And another highly produced video, I assume, as well. In Ras Al Khaimah, one woman in African descent was crushed to death after a wall collapsed during the violent storms. The victim was believed to be working in a house in Al Falain on Saturday, July 11th, when the wall was knocked down. Around 120 households in the area were forced to evacuate as torrential downpour left a trail of destruction. Police efforts are still ongoing to deal with the reports regarding damages caused by overflowing valleys across the Emirates, said Major General Ali Al-Nuami, Commander-in-Chief as Ras Al Khaimah Police. And you guys can check all the footage out here through Dubai International Airport. Also had some flights delayed as well. Those were continued to be affected on Sunday as well because of the heavy rains. The NCM issued severe weather warnings advising citizens to be extremely vigilant due to hazardous weather events and of exceptional severity forecasted. So, again, heavy rain across all over the world, different spots. Every time we report, I try to find something that's happening in a different part of the world. Not to beat a dead horse over and over in the same region, but I seem to find that every Monday that we go live, a new area gets flooded out. And of course, we reported on some desert snow today, also flooding in the Middle East. And now we come back here to the United States. And this is kind of a recap from this powerful storm system that we had to deal with over the past weekend here. And this is packed full of stats, so bear with me, folks. Let's get through this. A powerful outbreak of severe weather beginning on January 10th has claimed at least 12 lives in Alabama, Iowa, Louisiana, Texas. as storms hit part of the Gulf Coast and southeast U.S. Meanwhile, ice storm warnings were in place for parts of northern USA, including Michigan to the north of Detroit, as well as upstate New York and down east Maine. The major severe weather episode started across parts of the southern plains in Texas and Oklahoma and spread east into Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. As of Sunday night, January 12th, 5 tornadoes have been confirmed, 3 in North Alabama and 2 in the central area, including the fatal Pickens County storm, where 3 people died while 7 others were injured. Winds of at least 80 miles an hour were clocked in both Texas and Mississippi, and accumulating snow was reported in Denton, north of Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. They got about 3 inches of snow. So we were talking about tornadoes and hail and rainstorms, and then we had 3 inches of snow also. So Texas, parts of Texas, got to see it all, folks. A man was killed in East Texas when a tree fell on his home. Another person was killed when his car landed upside down in a creek in Dallas. 2 elderly people died in Louisiana after their mobile home collapsed, while another person died when a tree fell on their home. And then Pickens County, the storm is being blamed for 3 deaths, 7 injuries on a settlement road near Carrollton. A man drowned in floodwaters as he was trying to leave his truck that was stalled in floodwaters. 3 people died in a tornado in Carrollton, Alabama as well, according to the National Weather Service in Birmingham. So we have at least 3 deaths blamed on a tornado. And by the way, this was an EF2. January 11th, folks. An EF2, I'm sorry, January 12th. That's pretty strong for this time of year. Usually we don't have that kind of energy. But again, I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at it. Yeah, the atmosphere is very cold. And this high pressure system that was in the mid-Atlantic that was generating this moisture and pulling in warmth and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, these warm temperatures actually raced all the way up the East Coast. We had New York City at a record temperature of 72 degrees. And boy, oh boy, that reminds me real quick before I move further, because we're talking about the warmth that hit in New York City. And a really funny thing happened today on Twitter, as it always does. But you know how some of these people are. They're opportunists. They will talk about the weather that is happening right now, but they'll fail to mention anything that contradicts, a certain comment or a certain, you know what? It might have been blocked. It might have been blocked. Let's see my tweets and replies. I'm trying to find a tweet that I did earlier today. I responded to AOC. Here we go. And, forgive me for being rude here to AOC, but kind of silly. Let's go to her tweet real quick. Bear with me, guys. Here we go. All right. So she says it hit approximately 70 degrees in New York in January. This weather at this time of year can be very risky for local farmers and families they serve. If certain crops germinate, flower prematurely, and a freeze follows, crops could fail or drop in yield. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it, Mari? One day of the 70s and she gets on here and starts freaking out about crop failure. When food supply drops, prices rise. #climate crisis. Boy, if that isn't fear-mongering, I don't know what is. She's got her priorities a little reversed here. And I say that because she should have been saying things like this during the backwater floods and North Dakota floods and South Dakota floods and floods in Nebraska and floods in Kansas and other places as well. If you guys follow me on Twitter, it's @JakeGSM. You can read what my reply was. I was nonetheless impressed with what she had to say with that. But just another alarmist trying to strike fear and panic in someone because it got a little warm one day. But right behind this warm weather that we're experiencing, we've got sharp cold temperatures on the way. And I'll get into that here just in a little bit. But back to our article here with this weather, because this system was part of the reason why we got to 70 degrees in New York City. Again, that high pressure system was driving moisture and warmth in from the Gulf and pushing it up the East Coast into the Northeast. Hence, that's why we saw warm temperatures over the weekend. Now, I can tell you right now, temperatures have dropped off quite a bit. In fact, it didn't get past 32 here in upstate New York. And temperatures are expected to level out tomorrow and Wednesday up here, but then the bottom drops out. So she won't be talking about crop failure due to warm temperatures here for much longer. Tornado warnings were in place in Dallas area, while severe thunderstorm warnings were issued most of the region. On Friday afternoon, January 10th, a twister destroyed 2 homes near Missouri, while another tornado damaged a home near Tulsa, Oklahoma. At least 3 homes were ruined in Arkansas tornado, which also knocked down trees and power lines. Also on Friday, hail and snow up to 5 inches were reported when storms crossed the southeast and the Great Lakes of Maine. As of Saturday evening, over 267,000 customers were without power between Arkansas and Ohio. On Sunday, January 12th, snow created extremely slick roads that resulted in several crashes in Iowa and central Minnesota. And that's pretty much the hardcore stats here of this last storm that we had. Powerful severe weather outbreak in the south, tornadoes, and then we had snow and ice to the north, as the Midwest and the Northern Plains and the Great Lakes have seen some winter weather, but to have the snow fall like it did in Texas after dealing with tornadoes. There's a picture of a house with a tree on it. That was a very common sight as well. Again, it's January and we have EF2 tornadoes. Not very common, but the ingredients were there. Cold atmosphere, warm moisture, and warm air coming in from the Gulf, thanks to a high pressure system that was driving everything. Speaking of driving everything, we've talked about the UAH a couple of different times and how surprising to see the temperatures in November and December. November was at 0.55 and December was at 0.56. Now, I have been speculating for about a week now, or so actually, that the reason why that we have seen warmer temperatures in November and December, and why we could still see them for January as well, is because of the delayed effects from the weak El Nino that we had last year. And Roy does a great job here breaking it down of models and graphs and charts. His explanation is all here at his website at drroyspencer.com. And I just wanted to point this out. I didn't want to really go word for word through it, but again, this makes sense. I remember, like I said, I've mentioned this a couple times, thinking back of the last El Nino in 15 and how warm it was in Ohio in December at this time of year, just like it was again this year. So definitely some effects from El Nino. When you're talking about, oh, we had the record low solar activity, what happened to that? Well, obviously, it's not just the sun that plays a role in climate. You have ocean temperatures as well that also figure into the formula as well. So when ocean temperatures are up, land temperatures will be up as well. Even though we have a much colder atmosphere, we did have a pretty good warming event in the southern stratosphere with the sudden stratospheric warming event that happened just a few months ago back in, I think, October in the southern hemisphere, which a lot of people are also saying there's the reason why conditions have been ripe in Australia for these brush fires. Now, I did see per Starman that there is some rain moving back into the vicinity, and it should help put out some of these fires, and it looks like a pretty decent amount. In fact, I can also go check that out when we get to our GFS update as well. But guys, check out Dr. Roy Spencer here on his website, drroyspencer.com. He gives a great breakdown on why temperatures had a recent warmth instead of a cool off like we've been experiencing the last 3 years. But things are about to change, and a lot of it has to do with orbit. A lot of it has to do with solar cycles. A lot of it has to do also with the fact that the Pacific warming, ocean warming is now fading. And also, now that we have this volcano erupting in the Philippines and we're waiting for its next move, it could be just as bad on the next explosion. So we have a few things that can factor into what could cause cooling for us moving forward. And again, I have to say this, but conditions to me right now with this late start of a winter that we're experiencing in parts of the US and even in Europe and UK, your winter hasn't even really started yet. Of course, it's always kind of mild out there anyway, but still, not the cold that you thought you'd see by now. But as we get into our weather here later, I do think that the UK can see they're finally winter cold. It is starting to cool down towards the end of this month, and maybe winter freezing conditions will be in the area by the second week of February. But we'll have to continue to watch that, because every time I've tried to make a call on when that might hit over there, I swing and miss on that. So head scratcher, winter is still waiting to start for you guys over there. But I guess it's a good thing, right? That maybe you get a break this year and don't have to worry about the beast from the east. That, you know, nobody really wants to deal with this severe climate conditions as far as heavy snow. And I mean, I know there's snow lovers out there, and I like snow just as much as everybody else. But let's face it, you guys have been walloped over there the last couple winters. And I know here in the United States, it's been off and on as far as snow, but we've had a lot of snow before winter even started. So things are about to get a little bit interesting too, as you guys will see here in the GFS Outlook. Democrats, 100% clean energy by 2050 because Australia is burning. But remember, in 12 years, the world is going to end if we don't switch to fossil fuels or switch off of fossil fuels. So which is it, Democrats? But check this out. Democrats have released a bill to shut down all U.S. fossil fuel industries because of climate change. Democrats in the House Committee on Energy and Commerce have released the legislative framework for what they are calling a bold, ambitious, and sweeping plan to achieve the goal of 100% clean U.S. economy by 2050. We're really treating the climate change like the existential emergency that it is, said Republican or Representative Frank Pallone, a Democrat. Existential, that's what I said. Why don't you just sit over there and talk to people in the chat instead of interrupting the broadcast, Mari?
Okay.
Good Lord. Anyway, the joys of having your partner being in the same room while you're doing a live show, I guess.
Sorry. I'm coughing now.
That's what you get. The climate crisis is here, and we can no longer afford to address this issue along the margins, he said. 2050 goal would respond to a 2018 report by the IPCC that stated that limiting global warming this century to 1.5 would require net human-caused emissions of carbon dioxide to reach to zero by 2050. Every time I see that zero for carbon emissions, that, I mean, when the IPCC sells carbon credits to China and India, we'll never achieve zero emissions. Not here in the US. And and this is sad too, guys, but check this out. I seen some local stores around here, like your Targets and Walmarts and stuff like that. They now have energy people who are selling solar panel and solar wind. Or not solar wind, but solar power. And they are telling people, well, according to these guys, Kumo, and I was on, Mari, were you aware of this? But that we have a short amount of time to, check this out, 50% of our energy has to come from solar or windmills in the next several years. 50%. And we're only allowed to use 30% of fossil fuels. So I'm trying to figure out where the other 20% of energy we're going to get. But so there's people out there selling this solar panel and windmill power stuff and telling folks, and this is how they're like approaching the customers that pass by. Hi, would you like to save the world? Hi, do you care about the environment? Hi, would you like to address the climate crisis? Those are the leading phrases that these folks were using to get people's attention in purchasing their shares in the solar and wind markets. It's a sad world we live in, folks, where now we are ethically being violated by false advertising. And corporations like Walmart and Target and others are allowing it. And I don't know if they know any better. They're in the business to make money, so I get it. If you can sell it in their store and it makes them a profit too, hey, we're on board. I get that. But at the same time, I mean, some of these lines they're using to capture people's attention is really unfortunate. You know, I know most of you out there are good people. So if someone walked by you in the middle of public and said, "Hey, do you care about the environment?" You're not just going to ignore them. You're going to stop and say, "Well, of course I do." And that's how they kind of get you in the conversation. So very sneaky, very tricky. But anyway, but there's a fundamental problem we have here, which I'd be crazy not to acknowledge, and that most of them are climate deniers, he says. The president, the Republican leadership, won't admit there is a human element to a climate disaster that we face. So that's a huge problem to get them to participate, said Pallone. He doesn't know of a single Republican who has agreed to target 100% clean energy by 2050. What choice do we have? Australia is burning. We can't just sit here and say, oh, the Republicans may not like this or president may not like this. We've got to keep going and see what we can achieve, Pallone says. Listen, we are not climate deniers. We are just educated people who believe in climate change in a natural cycle. And the research and the evidence that we've been looking at for the past 15 years, or not us 15 years, but the recent 15 years of new evidence that's come out that's saying that CO2 is not a pollutant, that it is not warming, and that human participation in climate change is very small, that evidence is mounting up by the day. And it's these Democrats who refuse to look at the new work, at the new research, at the old research that talked about this back in the 60s and 70s. Instead, they've got these people like AOC out there pounding the fear porn drum on temperature rise. But guess what? She's only doing it because her Green New Deal would change the way the American economy will be, and it will benefit these politicians. I mean, not just benefit, but line their pockets, folks. Another storm moving across the United States this week. It's a coast-to-coaster in the northeast, all the way across to the northwest and the northeast. Mainly the heaviest, we'll see a lot of snow in the Sierras, Seattle, Portland, mixed precipitation. This is Thursday, and then we get to Friday. Here's what they're thinking. Look at that. It's quite a bit of snow there across some of these parts. South Lake Tahoe, some areas could receive over 3 feet of snow at this time, possibly even more than that. Mostly a foot in parts of Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And as we get to Friday, this thing rears its ugly head in the Ohio Valley. What we thought earlier would be all rain, this looks like it might start off as some mixed precip and change into snow. And then there's going to be a fine line between sleet and rain by Saturday's forecast. And let's go ahead and take a look at our current radar as we see rain in the south, moving right now across parts of Alabama into northern Georgia as well, where we could see some minor flooding, snow in the northern part of our United States, Wisconsin, and also Minnesota experiencing snow showers, as well in Oregon and Washington, parts of Nevada, Idaho, and northern California. All right, let's go ahead and check out our handy dandy little weather outlook here. And first, let's take a look at tropical tidbits. We will start here in the lower 48. This is today, or tomorrow, I should say. Pretty quiet. Low pressure system moving across the northern plains into the Great Lakes. That stays in Canada. Drops a little bit of snow in northern Maine on Wednesday, January 15th. And then another system moving across the United States by the 16th, which might create a little bit of light snow across New York. Start off as rain, end in snow. Parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and also Maine could see anywhere from 5 to 8 inches. We're calling for around 2 to 4 inches here in the upstate area. And then more rain and snow to the northwest, northern California, Oregon, and Washington once again. Showers and storms across the south again. And behind this is where the cold air is really going to start filtering in across the United States, especially in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the northern plains, and the Northeast. As our next storm system prepares to hit the eastern part of the United States, starts up really nice here on Friday, January 17th. And this will trek across Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana by the time we get to Saturday. Heavy snow for parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. And this storm has slowed down a little bit. It was slated to hit the northeast by Saturday. Now we're talking about late Saturday. It is approaching the northeast. Ohio will start off as some snow and ice, but this will all change to rain and then back to snow as it passes through. And then on early Sunday morning, overnight Saturday, we start to see eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut. We start to see our snow starting late or early Sunday, I should say, and move throughout the day on Sunday, continue to snow, as this system could drop anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of snow. Again, the models have changed a couple different times already, but one thing is clear is that this cold air will definitely be in place here after the 16th as we're looking at this weather map. And right now, it's going to stay rather quiet here in the northeast, according to GFS, after this next storm here on the weekend, because high pressure is going to keep things mainly dry. But then its counterclockwise rotation is going to bring up more moisture from the Gulf at some point as it starts heading off to sea. And now we see our next large system moving across the south. Once again, heavy rainfall, snow possible in the northern part of this system. And once again, we start to see features here on January 25th that might indicate that we could see a possible nor'easter. Right now, the models have it drifting off into the Atlantic Ocean, but this is twice we've seen it kind of develop like this towards the end of the month. And once again, that cold air will be reinforced at the end of January. So how cold is it going to get here in the U.S.? Well, let's go back here to let's start on Friday. Let's start here on Friday, yeah. Because that's mainly when we're going to see the cold air really start to kick in, as we've been treated to some mild air as of late for this time of year anyway. So here's that Arctic air trying to flow through on January 17th. Lots of it locked up in Canada. That last quick little 30, 40 degree day. And then Sunday, we have freezing temperatures throughout the Northeast, the Great Lakes, the Northern Plains. Across the Ohio Valley, you're staying in the 20s. This is all the way through the 22nd of January. Really cold weather for the Northeast. And then a mini mild spell of the mid 30s before another shot of cold air comes in from the North Arctic and invades the, once again, Northern Plains and in the Northeast. This pattern will continue. And like I said, the coldest weather right now that we can see, and boy, are we starting to see that pink starting to make its way down into the lower 48. These are overnight lows for Wednesday, January 29th. And that's right, folks, negative 36 in parts of Minnesota, negative 32. This could be some record-breaking cold that we're going to be experiencing here at the end of January. And February is not looking much better, as we kind of looked over this temperature stuff last night as well. Let's take a look at our friends over here in the UK. Lots of rain on the way. And again, this outlook is more rain for the UK, Ireland, Scotland, even parts of France and Italy, across Germany. Lots of rain. The snow is in Norway and Sweden, but still in Europe. And we start to see a little more blues show up. In fact, here in this last run, this is new data coming in here on the end of January. It does look like we have some snow possible for the UK as temperatures are starting to cool down. And hello, Henrik. Hello, hello, hello. Looks like you might get some snow. And that is on January 29th, 2020. So I know he'll be excited to film from his garden as well to show us that frozen stuff that will be falling from the sky. And here's what GFS is thinking on snow totals here. Check it out. This is the 16th, the northern part of the U.S. with a couple of inches. And then here comes that system that's going to move through the Northeast this weekend. It's going to drop anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of snow by the time it's all said and done. The Northern Plains and the Great Lakes looking at almost a foot. And then another system will add to that by the 25th. Some areas will be over a foot with snowpack. But look at how far south that our snow line is going, guys. And we just saw this area right here, that all this area up here has got this really, really bright pink, which means very cold Arctic air. The good news about air like that is that it's really hard to get this really thick, wet snow accumulating. Snow that happens in those kind of temperatures are usually fine little particulates you can almost sweep off your sidewalk with a broom. So again, that's the only hindsight or the only positive silver lining here. If we do get any snow in the beginning of February with these cold temperatures that we're expecting in this area right here where all the snow is, well, this is going to help with the temperatures. We have a snowpack already cold, and then we're dealing with Arctic air. So this area right here, it's ironic that this feature is showing up on our snowpack, because this is where that colder air is going to be starting in February as well. So we have to factor in what that's going to feel like, on top of the fact that we're getting Arctic blast from the end of this month all the way, probably, and some forecasters saying we could see it all the way through February into March, which would not surprise me. All right, let's check out Australia, because I did see some forecast that we would see some rain here in the near future, and this is going to be very helpful towards the efforts of fighting this fire. Let's start today. And as you see, yes, we do get quite a bit of rain on both the coasts, and especially on the eastern part. Lots of heavy rain up there, also in the northwest. These are areas that desperately need help from Mother Nature, and so there will be some relief. Nothing enough, but by the time we get to the 25th of January, the entire continent will have seen some at least decent widespread rain, and the heaviest looks to be on the 29th of January. So the end of this month is going to be good for Australia. It's going to be cold for the UK, and it's going to be cold for the United States. A lot of weather events that we're waiting to happen here at the end of the month that could be beneficial for a lot of us out there across the world. All right, Mari, would you like to come over here and say hello? You've already added to tonight's commentary. Why not continue, right?
I'm full of...
And thank you for the weather map situation, too. I appreciate that.
I'm full of brilliant commentary, Jake. What are you talking about? You know you are loved greatly. Not just by myself, but all these people in the chat, Jake, sticking up for you when I do that Jake emoji and all that. People are really enjoying the how dare you emoticon for GSM. I would like to thank Live by Example for your super chat. They put, you guys are my daily news and weather source. May God bless you both. Thank you very, very much. Matt Bros was saying that I need to like teach you these Arabic cities and stuff, Jake. And I just said, you know, if
Not
you
enough
really
time in the
care,
day.
I would, but you have no interest in that. And he asked something else, but I said, you do a good Borat, if that counts for anything.
Wow.
Don't you? You really do.
I guess so.
I won't make you do it, but anyway. Let's see what we got here. Brilliant Henrik impersonation.
I hope so.
I saw Randy Pine in the chat. He sent me several awesome messages on Patreon. Thank you. I'll get back to you. You said you were sending a lot of those National Weather Service updates. Jake does look like he looks at that daily, usually in the morning. He goes over that. Do you need help finding something?
Nope,
Jake?
I see it. Keep going.
Oh, okay. And I mean, that's all I got. I'm working. I did start the video on how to do the YouTube membership. So if you wanted to do the fun GSM emoticons and have...
I'm going to show real quick. If you're a subscriber, you're on your PC or laptop, you just come over here. And first of all, I'd like to point out too that YouTube has actually added our t-shirt store as it's not working.
Well, I just updated it today, gotcha. So it's going to take
So the store will be there, but if you want to become a membership, you click on membership, and then is there like a join button here?
We're joined because they don't give creators a free account. So I actually have to pay to use my own emoticons I make, which is crazy to me. But let me take the helm here. Next to the subscribe button on the main page or even on any video, there is a join button, which you won't see here because I'm already joined. But you'll have a membership tab. It'll give you different loyalty badges to earn. Is that showing up on the site? I gotta move it over here. New member, then you get different badges as the time goes on. And we've added just some fun things, and this is going to match what we're offering on Patreon as well. And it starts at $1.99, and then it has different levels. So we're going to be doing like different behind the scenes videos, blooper reels, and all that. There's going to be different stuff, also discounts to the store and all that. So I will have a video out hopefully this week. I have it started, so I should be able to finish that up tomorrow and do a better, more thorough explanation of it in comparison to the other stuff that we have going on. We do still have the promo code GSM Love on our Teespring store. So if you want one of those awesome George Orwell shirts or an I Love CO2 shirt, or what do I got over there? A Pinocchio Al Gore shirt or a Puppet Greta shirt.
Yep.
The options are wide and vast. So check it out.
All right, thank you, Mario, as always, for the work that you do for this channel, and thanks for keeping everybody entertained in the chat as well. That's going to do it for our Monday night edition. Please tune in tomorrow morning for another Grand Solar Minimum News update and a quick look at the day's weather. Until then, guys, have a great evening, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.